day for basketball. Hoops fans stepping off the subway and into the Barclays Center. We've got a great matchup today. A red-hot Hofstra team, which has won 4 out of 5, taking on the number 6 team in the country, the Kentucky Wildcats, sitting at 8-1. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Joe Lenardi and Kara Lawson in a front-row seat to this talented Kentucky freshman class. Darren Fox, Malik Monk, a high-riser, Bam Adebayo inside, and Wenyen Gabriel with some athleticism up front for Kentucky. Meanwhile, Hofstra has some size inside. The nation's leading rebounder, Rokas Gustis, will have his hands full today. For Hofstra and head coach Joe Mihalik, an opportunity. They haven't beaten a top 25 team in 20 years, but back-to-back 20-win seasons. Meanwhile, on the other side, John Calipari in his element, in this city, with all of his talent, and once again, a top 10 team.
Oh, buckle up if you're Hofstra, because of the tempo with which Kentucky plays. And offensively, the ability to push the basketball with their electric freshman backcourt, Darren Fox and Malik Monk. And then the pressure they put on you on the defensive end. It is paramount for the Hofstra guards that they do not turn the basketball over. You can turn this thing into a track meet.
Kentucky's lone loss came against a top UCLA team in which Calipari said they just simply didn't bring energy. That was different last time out against Valparaiso, but they turned the ball over 7 times in the first 4 minutes of that game before they went on a 21-0 run. So we're ready for tip today in Brooklyn. Hofstra playing its 3rd ever game in this arena. They are 1-1 here. Kentucky has been here a handful of times as well. Bit of a change to John Calipari's starting lineup. Wenyen Gabriel will start the game on the bench, and in that 4th spot we'll see Derek Willis. Kentucky expects to see a lot of zone from Hofstra.
What, you zone Kentucky?
Yes.
I mean, when you look at their personnel that they have, I mean, they can expect to see, I think, a steady diet of zone all season long. They haven't been incredibly proficient from beyond the 3-point line. They don't have a ton of shooters, so Willis, who is one of their shooters, gets into the lineup against the zone.
Kentucky team which is only shooting 32% from deep. Here's Isaiah Briscoe looking down the paint, and he gets it off the rim and in. First bucket for the sophomore from New Jersey.
You get the ball in the middle of the floor, and you have the ability to carve up that zone, and that's exactly what Isaiah Briscoe does right there. His ability to finish at his size is remarkable.
Deron Powers runs the point for Hofstra. He's a transfer from Hampton. He played against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. Here's Eli Pemberton, the freshman, leaves it short, and Willis is on the glass. And now Briscoe. Kentucky, one of the fastest teams in the country. The average only 13.5 seconds per possession, but sloppy early as Darren Fox lost the handle on it.
He's one of my favorite players in the country, and the season is just in its infancy, and that's Darren Fox. Watch the pressure that Powers has to go. This is just man-to-man. Pick you up full court, turn you a couple times, make it difficult for you to do anything.
Powers averages 4.5 assists a game, but also 3 turnovers a game. First touch for Gustis, and he turns it right back over to Kentucky.
See, that's a speed you up turnover. You always hear coaches say we want to make them play faster in the games than they're used to practicing. The pressure that Kentucky puts on you on the perimeter will cause you to make those type of mental errors.
A look at Hofstra's matchup zone. Here's Fox, and now Briscoe will set something up. Looking for Adebayo inside. And now Willis for 3. And it skips off the rim. Rebound chased down by Gustis. Near steal by Briscoe. And it's going to stay this way. Isaiah Briscoe is the leader of this Kentucky team. John Calipari says, you need to be our energy guy. And it's a similar situation for John Calipari with so many young, talented players. He's leaning on a sophomore to be a leader. Bernardi, a 3-point threat, harassed by Monk. And another Hofstra turnover. So, Kara, this is a Kentucky team that gets 42% of its points on dunks. 45% of their points come in the paint. Can they be an effective perimeter shooting team? Gusties with the foul.
I think there are certain players that can be on their roster that can be effective in shooting the perimeter, but that clearly is one of their weaknesses. But you look at the way they play and the amount of pressure they put on you. To me, what's most important is their tempo. Are they running into things? Are they able to get to the paint? That can set up clean looks just like that, right? Getting to the paint sets up good in-rhythm shots like Derek Willis hits right there.
Briscoe got his hands on another one on the wing. It was sick with Hofstra. Look at the percentage of points from dunks or layups for Kentucky. 42% and 25% coming off of turnovers. It's fourth fastest team in the country in terms of time of possession, and a foul on Willis on the Gusties drive. Pardon me, it's on Adebayo. It's his first.
His first, team first.
Another gamble, this time by Monk, and he gets a shot block from behind on Greer. Easy bucket inside for Hofstra. And the first for Gusties. Quickly the other way, Monk. And now Powers spins his way to the front court, into the paint. And he has it blocked, but a whistle and a foul on Kentucky. It's on De'Aaron Fox's first. You said buckle up. You were right.
You have to buckle up, and I love Powers here being a little opportunistic. Now, he doesn't have numbers. I mean, that's 1-on-2. But you have to look to find a way, I think, if you're Hofstra, to find some freebies in transition. And he attacks and is able to get the call. But, man, what a miss by Hofstra defensively in transition. If there's one guy on the court you can't leave open for a clean look at three, it's Malik Monk. I mean, that's a guy you don't want to get a clean look at the basket. They got lucky with him missing that one.
Ron Powers is from Williamsburg, Virginia. Started his college career at Hampton. He was a 1,000-point scorer in 3 seasons at Hampton. Helped him to a MEAC championship and a berth in the NCAA tournament, where the Pirates lost to Kentucky. Fox blows by everybody. Lob was a little aggressive, but will stay this direction. I think if John Calipari's looking for energy from his team early in the game, he's gotten that in the first 3 minutes.
No question, especially on the defensive end.
Willis short corner rattles one home. He had 5 early.
Yeah, you have to believe that's why I got the start today. I mean, we mentioned at the top of the show, his ability versus that zone to give somebody in the short corner, to give someone from beyond the arc that can help stretch it. This makes them a different offense, a different zone offensive team. Powers
picked up his dribble. Will have to use his timeout. It's Kentucky up by 3 early in Brooklyn. Tuesday night, catch a special edition NBA doubleheader at 8 p.m. Eastern. Karl Anthony Towns and the Timberwolves take on the Bulls at the United Center. Then it's the Thunder at the Trailblazers. Coverage tipped with NBA Countdown, charged by Mountain Dew at 7. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN. Out of the timeout, we'll have Bernardi try to cross the timeline. Kentucky really extending defensively against Hofstra this afternoon. To Kentucky. Did you expect to see this kind of game plan defensively from Kentucky, and what's the point of it against Hofstra?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of their best qualities as a team is how disruptive they can be on the perimeter defensively. You're talking about 3 guards that have the ability athletically, with their intelligence, to disrupt what you're doing on the offensive end. I think this should be their game plan every game, because they have the athletes and they have the players to be able to do it.
They scored 87 against Valpo Wednesday night at Rupp Arena as Adebayo travels with it. But they allowed Valparaiso at times to control the tempo and really slow things down. We didn't see this kind of full court pressure from Kentucky.
I think they're at their best when they're running. And you talk about in the half court with a young team handling a zone, you can do your best job if you're running the floor and being disruptive.
Gustie's left alone, and he throws it home to make it a 1-point game. Kentucky gambled and had guys out of position, and now the Cats trying to extend the lead. Fox all the way to the ring. Bernardi for 3. And another offensive rebound for Hofstra. Hofstra 0 for 4 from deep here early on. Fade away. Short, and Willis brings it down. Briscoe drives. And we've got a foul on Jerron Powers. It's his first. We've got an interesting one brewing here. A 3-point Kentucky lead. And just like the stores putting out their Christmas decorations, that gets earlier every year. Bracketology coming at you earlier and earlier every year. Joey Brackets joins us next. Well, the Hofstra fans like what they see here early on. Number 6 Kentucky with a 3-point lead, and Hofstra has yet to hit a 3. 0 for 4 from deep. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Kara Lawson. What do you think the job Hofstra's done against the Kentucky pressure thus far? I
think it's been okay. The issue, I think, for me is that they can't allow themselves to have those live ball turnovers. That's where it becomes a problem, where Kentucky's able to get out after you. But you look at this team, they have some experience. The senior guard in Bernardi, a graduate transfer in Powers, and Gustis is an upperclassman as well. So they're a team that, I'm not going to say they're built to upset Kentucky, not by any means, but what they are built to do, I think, is hang in here.
They haven't beat a top 25 team in 20 years. Now the question for Joe Lunardi, who's with us tonight, is Kentucky a 1 seed? So let's open up the book on bracketology. If they're not there yet, Joe, what does Kentucky need to do to crack the top 4?
I guess we'll find out awfully soon, given their upcoming schedule against North Carolina and Louisville. But when you look at the overall picture of the top teams right now, all blue bloods of college basketball: Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, Indiana, UCLA. And maybe that loss that UK suffered to the Bruins wasn't so bad at home after what we saw the Bruins do to Michigan last night.
It's the first time since 1994 that we've had all those blue bloods in the top 10 at the same time. You're talking about an era with Grant Hill and Alan Henderson and Jacques Vaughn at Kansas. I mean, it's kind of a throwback kind of season. Let's talk a little bit, though. The one outlier there, Joe, is Baylor. And their resume right now, perhaps better than anybody. How big of a surprise is Baylor to you?
I think the way they're winning, even more so than who they're beating, which is impressive enough. The real question becomes, as we head toward the new year, is this the time that Kansas gets threatened by someone in the Big 12? Baylor with the resume to do it, but no one in that league has been able to take down the giant Jayhawks over the last decade plus.
Joe, thanks. We'll catch up with you more. We'll talk a little bit about the SEC as well. As Gustis throws down another jam, he's got 6, and Hofstra with the takeaway. Pride making a run here. 5 minutes into this one. 3 ball. Almost went in, and Fox brings it down. A couple of subs on the floor for Calipari's team coming out of the timeout, including Gabriel, who gets a baseline touch and is able to throw it in. Isaac Humphries also off the bench, along with Dominique Hawkins. Bernardi turns the corner. And then Gabriel will start to break with Fox. Into the corner, Hawkins. Nobody picks up Fox, so he throws in the 12-footer.
And now we're starting to see how the pace can kind of eat you up a little bit if you're Hofstra. And you got to be careful. You're not trying to trade baskets and play at this tempo the entire ball game.
Shot clock is at 7 now. Here's Powers to Gustis, and he had too much underneath it. Rokas Gustis is a guy who's finding himself all alone inside.
Well, he's a nation's leading rebounder, and you would think that he would score a ton, but he actually doesn't. Just averages a little over 9 points per game, so he's not a go-to guy for them on the offensive end. He relies on those types of plays. Loose balls, offensive rebounds, those are his opportunities to score. I've loved his energy tonight. You see him getting a blow, and he's fatigued. I mean, he has spent himself here in the first 6.5 minutes playing hard and really battling on the glass.
He's been the primary offensive weapon for Hofstra today. He's 3 for 3 from the floor. The rest of his team a combined 0 for 7. Humphries finds Briscoe. And a reverse with the left hand for Isaiah Briscoe.
Well, that's where they just kill you. I mean, their guards have the ability to get into crevices, to get to the paint. Even if it looks like they're guarded, they can still find a way to get in there.
Dominique Hawkins gets charged with his first personal foul.
His first, team third.
Kentucky has doubled up here on Hofstra. Even though they haven't shot the ball particularly well, just 33% from the floor. It's a Hofstra team which last year got a third of their points from behind the arc, but thus far today, 0 for 5 from 3. Justin Wright Foreman has it redirected by Michael Mulder, and then Gabriel with the foul on his way down. It's the first on Gabriel and the 4th team foul on Kentucky.
Well, the last couple drives for Hofstra, it's felt like their guards have driven hoping to get fouled, hoping for a foul. The way they're throwing it up there, you got to go in there expecting to make the shot. And if the foul's a byproduct, then it is one.
They get 17 points a game from the free throw line. Greer, the Chicago native, gets hammered on his way in, so he'll get a trip to the line.
So here's what we're talking about. When you go in and you drive, I mean, yes, there's trees, yes, there's athleticism, but he didn't go trying to make that shot. He went thinking he was going to get a call. And, you know, that's the wrong approach.
So here's Greer, the junior from Chicago, happy just to be playing the game of basketball. He was a top recruit coming out of the Chicagoland area, but during his senior year of high school, he was shot in the calf at a late-night party. And then, after having not played the second half of the season, came off the bench to hit the game-winning 3 to take his team, Orr Academy, to the 3A Final Four. That was the only shot he attempted that game after going the junior college route. Now at Hofstra, and he's got Hofstra within 7 of the number 6 team in the country.
Greer's a nice player. He can do a little bit of everything. He's probably their best defender when he locks in, so he'll be an important piece in this one. Kentucky
has made 6 in a row. Willis ends that run. Mulder hard on the glass, but they're going to rip one away from Gustis. Pardon me, that's Sabady in there now at the 5 spot for Hofstra. And Humphreys knocks it out of bounds. It will stay with Hofstra.
For 3, and Adebayo. Also 0.
It's a Hofstra team that doesn't have a ton of depth care, but they're getting some quality minutes from their subs now.
Well, this is going to be something to watch here when Powers is out of the ball game, because DeJour Bowie tore his ACL, and that leaves this roster devoid of a backup point guard. And let me tell you, Tom, this is not the team you want to go up against when you're devoid of a backup point guard. In fact, I would argue playing Kentucky, if you have 2 point guards, you want to have them both on the floor at the same time to be able to combat this pressure and change who's bringing it up in the point of attack.
Sabady commits his first personal foul. Here's Briscoe. And he buries a 3 with a look back towards some family in the stands. He's got 8. Wright Foreman has it redirected by Adebayo. Then Willis challenges the second shot out of the hand of Greer. Here's De'Aaron Fox. Willis has his shot blocked by Sabady. Wright Foreman will let it fly. Sabady on the glass. Another 3. That one's good. Jamal Robinson with his first triple. Adebayo muscles his way in and goes over the top of Sabady. First bucket for Bam, the freshman from Little Washington, North Carolina. There's Sabady again, his first bucket, but he's given him some productive minutes off the bench.
Absolutely. Great energy, battling on the glass.
The guy who started his college career at Division III Tufts will graduate in 10 days, and he'll be working towards his master's. Hawkins left alone. Got it. First three for Hawkins. Kentucky from behind the arc has hit half of their three-point attempts. When we return, we'll talk not just fast, but speed. Speedy Claxton in the building with his Hofstra coaching staff. Well, on the Hofstra bench is Speedy Claxton, one of the all-time greats in the history of the Hofstra basketball program. Still the all-time leader in assists and steals from his point guard position. After being drafted by the 76ers in 2000, he went on to a fine NBA career, played for 5 teams, and not only did he win an NBA title with the Spurs in 03, but he took over Game 6 when Tony Parker was ineffective, named a special assistant 5 years ago, and now an assistant coach to Joe Mihalik on this staff, and a great representative of this Hofstra program overall.
There's no question he brings great currency to the position because he played there. He's been in those guys' shoes, but he's also gone on to have incredible success in the NBA. An introverted guy, a little bit shy. I was talking with Coach Mihalik, and he said that Jay Wright came back a few years ago. Jay Wright, of course, coached Speedy Claxton at Hofstra, and said he watched the practice, and he said, oh, my goodness, Speedy said more in 5 minutes in this practice than he said in 4 years when I coached him. So he's coming out of his shell a little bit as a coach.
Isaiah Briscoe picks up the foul on the drive. That's his first. By the way, Hofstra will face off against their former coach, Jay Wright and Villanova. Will come to Nassau Coliseum next December. Jay took him to their last NCAA tournament. That was 2001. Lost to UCLA in the first round in Greensboro. Here's Deron Powers. He is 3 for 3 from the line thus far today.
Captain for Hofstra number 14, Brian Bernardi.
Here's Monk. Humphreys gets fouled on the foul. It's a first on the freshman Pemberton. Coming up next, we'll have Tennessee and North Carolina from the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill. Should be a fun one as the 7th-ranked Tar Heels welcome Tennessee for the first trip ever to the Dean Smith Center. And North Carolina native Rick Barnes going from Hickory, North Carolina over to Chapel Hill. Humphreys misses the front end. What do you think of Carolina thus far this year?
I think they're the best team. I think they're the best team in the country. But now I wouldn't argue if you told me you thought Villanova was, or you thought UCLA was, or Duke was. Certainly with those guys getting healthy. But I think North Carolina, when you combine how tough they are offensively, how good they are defensively, I think they're the best team I've seen.
We got Joe Lunardi with us today. Joe, how's North Carolina look in your bracketology as Powers hits the hanger?
Well, I don't think we've ever had such an august group of number 2 seeds as there are right now with Carolina, these Kentucky Wildcats among them. But let's not forget, Indiana has beaten both North Carolina at home and Kansas on a neutral floor. And those Hoosier fans, they want to be in the conversation also. I agree with Kara. I think Carolina's terrific. But I think Duke, once completely whole, is going to be their equal and maybe then some.
Duke looked really good against UNLV yesterday. Grayson Allen seems to be back from that toe injury and had a magnificent performance. And maybe just as impressive to win against Florida last week. They certainly overmatched UNLV out in the desert last night. A save goes right off of Briscoe. Here's a look at the top 10. Once again, Villanova, defending national champs, undefeated. A one-loss Kansas team in there at number 3. And Baylor with a great resume thus far, 8-0.
Well, Tom, you and I are going to get a good look at Gonzaga next weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing them. The balance they have, the ability to knock down the three-point shot. And Shemet Karnowski is a terror on the interior. He is terrific. And so you have to pick your poison with the Zags, whether you're going to play him one-on-one or you're going to bring a double team. And they've got a bevy of shooters on the outside to make you pay if you do that.
Malik Monk commits a foul, and that's a 7th personal, 17th foul, I should say, on Kentucky. It's Monk's first, and it'll put Brian Bernardi to the free throw line. Staten Island native has earned his 2nd free throw. Great shooter, 2nd in school history at 207 career threes. And he knocks them both down. 7-point Kentucky lead. Briscoe walked with it. And Hofstra will have another opportunity to whittle away at this Kentucky advantage. Pressure again from the Cats. Greer for three. Too strong. Adebayo brings it down. Monk off balance. Wow.
Smooth, isn't he? With that elevation on his jump shot, I mean, he's open whenever he wants to be. Whenever he decides to rise and fire, Malik Monk is open.
Can that work against a shooter? You think you're always open within the scope of what Kentucky wants to do offensively?
Not in the shooter's opinion.
Nice spin move, but no finish from Greer. And here's Monk to Briscoe. And he steps into the lane to lay it in.
You know, I think it's all personality driven, Tom. And, you know, we talked to John Calipari before the game, and he says that Monk is too unselfish at times. He's trying to get him to take more shots, to be more aggressive. I mean, they went 6 minutes in that UCLA game without Malik Monk getting a shot. That's too long.
It's a lone loss of the season. Pemberton throws in a three. It was interesting talking with Cal during shoot-around today. He said, you'll see us run more sets from Malik Monk, some stuff that I initially had with Kerry Kittles. Here's Monk stepping into a three. Back when he was with the Nets, he said, I was talking with Kerry the other day. He said, hey, we're running your stuff. We got this freshman that we're running some Kerry Kittles stuff with. A reach in and a foul by De'Aaron Fox. It's his second. 8th team foul. 8-point lead for Kentucky. When we return, we won't be talking old school, but whole school. Take a look at some of the top programs in college basketball when we return. Brooklyn, we're taking a look at the Blue Bloods in the AP Top 10, including UCLA and Kansas. Yeah, these pictures are old. Greg Ostertag, Chesapeake Parks, Grant Hill, Rick Pitino, Kentucky with Travis Ford and companies, because it's the first time since 1994 we've had this collection in the Associated Press Top 10. If you like Blue Bloods, it's a throwback kind of season. So, Joe Lenardi, what's behind all of this? Why do you think we're seeing a resurgence from all of the top programs historically all at once?
It starts with the best players, obviously, who want to play at the most storied institutions, but maybe undersold in that storyline, guys. These teams are all playing one another in the non-conference portion of the season. They're getting the exposure. It doesn't hurt them in terms of selection or seeding for March, because college basketball, unlike college football sometimes, rewards these kinds of games, and it's a win-win for everybody when they compete in these early season tournaments and intersectional games.
Next time out for Kentucky, they'll go to Vegas to take on North Carolina. January 28th, they'll play host to Kansas. They already hosted UCLA for the first time at Rupp Arena. I guess as a college basketball fan, Kerry, we got to embrace this. It is awesome.
It is great. You can't beat it. You can't beat. And, you know, some of this, too, I think, is guys having younger teams.
Yes.
So you need to find out and test early what can they do. What are they going to look like in pressure situations, so that you have those teaching moments and those teaching takes. It does better to play those games than to win a game by 40 or 50 in terms of the impact it can have on teaching your players.
Mulder hangs but can't quite finish. There's another situation at play here, though, and that's the advent of the one and done, because if Karl Anthony Towns was on this Kentucky team, which he would be if there was no one and done, there wouldn't be room on the roster for Bam Adebayo. Maybe he ends up somewhere else, and that talent is filtered through the country outside of the Blue Blood. You look at Kentucky's notable non-conference opponents. They had a big win against Michigan State. Arizona State was no challenge to them. Oh, by the way, they still have to go to Louisville after that North Carolina game.
And how about Kansas in the middle of the SEC schedule and the Big 12 SEC Challenge? So certainly with Kentucky, I mean, they make it a point to schedule tough in the non-conference, to give these freshmen, give these sophomores opportunities to fail is what it is, right? Opportunities to not experience success, to have some adversity, and then you learn more and you grow more as a team.
Isaac Humphries was talking about learning after losses. He said, it's something I learned from Yao Ming at a Basketball Without Borders event years ago. He said, if you win, and win, that can cover up a lot of warts. It's after a loss where you're really forced to address your shortcomings as a team. That last foul was on Eli Pemberton, his second for Hofstra. And let's be face it, there were a lot of shortcomings for Kentucky in that UCLA loss. They allowed 97 points, the most ever allowed by John Calipari Kentucky team. A dozen for Briscoe. Tipped by Willis. Briscoe's got the touch pass up front. Willis spins, hangs, and it falls off. Hawkins, no foul. Powers with the dish. Gustis has 8.
You can't succumb to the pressure. You have to at times attack it. So love what Powers did there in terms of attacking it and setting up Gustis for a great layup.
They will have a hold inside on Hofstra. Second on Gustis. Last trip down.
So this isn't easy. I mean, to handle pressure like Dominique Hawkins puts on you and handle it, keep your eyes up and look away right there and give your big man a layup. You know, Powers has 22 assists in his last 3 games. That's an area he's really improved on in terms of playmaking. They need that from him. Remember, their posts aren't guys that are going to create their own. They need help. So plays like that go a long way to helping this Hofstra team be more balanced on the offensive end.
Briscoe walked with it. He had some confounding turnovers in the UCLA game. Stepped on the baseline 3 different times in that game. Seven-point game. Hofstra hasn't beaten a top 25 team since they knocked off a ranked Louisville squad 20 years ago. And here's a 3 from Powers. It's a 4-point game. Corner 3, and the answer from Malik Monk. Monk on pace to break Jody Meek's single-season 3 record here, 10 games into the season. And a bump from Hawkins will be the second on the senior.
This is clearly a bust in Hofstra's zone defense. You see them getting screened, but check out this guy's form. I mean, he is a terrific shooter. That is picture perfect. Slow motion. You reference it, Tom. He's on pace to break Jody Meek's single-season all-time 3-point record. He's shooting 38% from beyond the arc. I mean, that is why it has been a point of emphasis for this team on the offensive end to get him more looks. He has great form, but he's a quality shooter, and they need that from him.
It's not like he's been shy all season, but that UCLA drought, the real headliner and the head scratcher, but he averages 7.5 threes attempted per game. That's a big number. Powers knocks them both down. We've got a 5-point game. 12 points for the Hofstra point guard. Monk makes his own shot and off the side of the rim. Great cut and a finish at the rim by Greer. 3-point game. A foul inside will be on Jamal Robinson, his first as he was posted up. Well, it's ugly sweater time, and Hofstra would take an ugly win, that's for sure. 3-point game and a slow effort here in the first half. All right, Doug, thanks, gentlemen. Yeah, here in Brooklyn, it's a 3-point lead for the 6th-ranked team in the country. Kentucky, last time out, Kara, had no problems with Valparaiso. They went on a 21-0 run. You wonder if they have that kind of run in them here tonight.
Well, you see Gustis and Powers, and I've been really impressed with this Hofstra team because we talked about it at the top, Tom, how you would have to handle the pressure. You would have to be very careful in terms of your live ball turnovers. And they've been able to keep this Kentucky offense at bay.
A foul on the rebound is going to go against Hofstra.
I think it's Sabady.
We're going to get Ty Greer with his first.
You know, both Greer and Sabady and Gustis as well. I mean, how active they've been on the glass. And I think that has really helped to energize this team. Defensively, trying to limit them to one shot. And then they've gotten a few extra opportunities on the offensive end. They've got to remain. Those three guys, you know, in that rotation, they're going to have to continue to battle. Physically outmatched.
Briscoe misses the front end. We got another foul on a rebound. That one will be on Hunter Sabady, his second. So back-to-back fouls on the front end of 1-and-1s. Pardon me, it's a lane violation. Sorry. So still just one on Sabady.
Well, how would you like to be tasked with trying to keep Adebayo out of the paint from getting a rebound? Not easy to do. His quickness, his strength.
Briscoe misses the front end anyway. You mentioned the rebounding edge. Hofstra is +3 on the glass. They have 8 offensive rebounds this afternoon. And 12 of their 33 points have come via the second chance. Greer on Gabriel, high above Adebayo, then a foul on Sabady. He had Mulder wrapped up. Second on Sabady. Tonight on ESPN, wrap up your weekend with Sports at Night with John Buccigross and Boomer and Herm with breakdowns from Week 14 in the NFL. It's the best place for all your sports shopping needs. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Here's Michael Mulder at the free throw line. And he's got another one coming his way. What's the conversation going to be like in John Calipari's locker room at the half?
I think he's going to get on the guys because when you look at the fact of the discipline that they need to have on the defensive end of the floor, and we've seen the offensive rebounding. I mean, what team should out rebound Kentucky? Give me a team in the country that should, right? And so there are certain elements that you look at a box score and you say, okay, these are effort things, right? And rebounding is one of them. And Hofstra has played harder on the interior than Kentucky has to this point. And so he's not going to be very happy.
Hawkins returns to the lineup. Gabriel will take a seat. So this is a small Kentucky lineup. Essentially, Michael Mulder playing the 4 now. Wonder what effect that will have on that rebounding advantage for Hofstra. Sabady on the beautiful feed from Greer will go to the free throw line.
Man, Greer threaded the needle on that one, didn't he? That was a great pass. You see Hofstra +2 on the glass. And think about Hofstra offensively. If they're not getting those offensive rebounds, Tom, it's a challenge for them to score. And so what you're doing is you're giving a team extra opportunities. You're giving them more confidence. And the longer that they play close, the better that they're going to feel about themselves. And so, you know, that's the danger for this Kentucky team, not giving confidence to the opponent.
Dominic Hawkins has to take a seat with his 3rd personal foul. In their 6 wins, Hofstra's been +12 on the glass. In their 4 losses, -6. Telling stat for this Hofstra team, which has won 4 out of its last 5 coming into this one. Briscoe got a bump. They will count it, and he'll have a chance for a 3-point play.
We see this time and time again from Isaiah Briscoe in his year and a half in Lexington, and it's his ability at his size to score and finish through taller defenders. Remember earlier in this half we talked about how a couple of Hofstra guards were driving hoping to get fouled, and he drives hoping to make, and I think he drives hoping to have contact. I think it makes him a more efficient player.
Talked with John Calipari today about one of his guards back at Memphis, Derrick Rose. He said used to do the same thing. He's a guy who would go right into people and earn a trip to the line. Rebounded by Mulder off the miss by Powers. Briscoe gives it up. Willis crashing the glass and has it taken away. Gets it back. Harassing hands before he finds Monk, and Monk will draw a foul. And that'll be the 3rd on Sabady, who's saying I was going straight up.
Sabedy's going to have to be smart here in the last 2 minutes because he's picked up 3 fouls very quickly here at the end of the first half.
He's got 3. Gustis has 2. Monk knocks them both down. 7 for the freshman. And Kentucky has pulled the lead back to 10. John Calipari wanted an illegal screen. It set a slip and a close look, but lost by Hofstra as Robinson lost a handle on it. One 1-3-1. Hofstra mixes up its defense right after John Calipari put in a play for Malik Monk to get a look at a 3. Instead, it's Mulder on the other side. Too easy for Monk on that offensive rebound. Missed opportunity for the Cats. Hofstra trying to take it to single digits again. Powers walked with it. As many swings as we've seen in this first half, Kara, how big would it be for Hofstra to be down single digits going into the locker room?
Well, there's no question it would be big, but, you know, Kentucky has that ability to go on these spurts, and that is the danger right here. You talk about 18.5 minutes of solid basketball if you're Hofstra, and that can go by the wayside here if you let Kentucky get a few buckets in a row.
Briscoe ran into his own man, and the rebound ripped down by Sabedy. Bernardi can shoot it, and that one was halfway down. And now Monk. And a foul on the board will be on Mulder. It's a first on Mulder. John Calipari back in the tri-state area. They're getting ready for finals that start Monday. They'll be over by Wednesday, and then Kentucky will have 3-a-day practices. And if that wasn't going to be hard enough, if John Calipari is not happy with their effort here tonight, there might be some strategically placed trash cans around the Kraft Center with all the running Kentucky might be doing next week.
Camp Cal, right?
Yeah, Camp Cal. Robinson's got another coming. And a lane violation again. That's a second one in this first half. Monk, the 14-footer. 9-0 Kentucky run, just as you're talking about, Kara. Kentucky fans have made it to Brooklyn, and they're going to foul against Hofstra. That's the fourth now on Sabedy. Joe Mihalik was trying really hard to keep Gustis on the bench to close out this first half, and he's going to do it. They're going to go deeper into their bench and bring in Andre Walker, who only averages 4 minutes a game.
Calls a 30-second timeout.
So John Calipari takes a timeout. What do you expect him to set up coming out of this look with 26 seconds left?
Well, he's got 3 shooters in the game versus that zone. He's got Malik Monk, he's got Derek Willis, and he's got Michael Mulder. So, you know, a lot of times with that zone, out of a timeout, you could set something up for one of your quality guys to get a clean look at the basket.
Kentucky 4 of 12 from deep today. Monk did not shoot it well last time out, and he's only made 2 of his last 11, including 1 for 6 against Hofstra. By the way, this is the second game of a doubleheader here today. Big win for LIU Brooklyn. They knocked off St. John's as we had a chance to watch that one come down to the wire.
What a game that was, wasn't it? Back and forth, back and forth. St. John's had a couple opportunities to win that game down one, a couple possessions, and just didn't get the final shot to go. Big time win for the Blackbirds.
Jerome Frink hit the game winner for LIU Brooklyn, knocking off Chris Mullins' squad. We'll talk about the history of New York hoop legends in the second half. That certainly apply to Mullins. Here's Briscoe. He'll take the shot, the clock to single digits. Looking for Adebayo, nothing there. Now Monk will have to create with a hand in his face. Got it! Malik Monk with a challenge three extends the Kentucky lead to 15. Kentucky closes the half on a 12-0 run. Briscoe with 15 to lead Kentucky in the first half, but Monk's three will take him to the locker room with a better taste in their mouth. Joe Lenardi standing by with John Calipari.
John, you go 12-0 to finish the half. Did that make you feel a little better about things?
Well, I like the fact that we're playing a team that just says, we're quick as you are, we're coming at you, we're not backing down. We got to fight for balls. We made a couple critical errors there in crunch time, but you know, this is a young team. This is the kind of stuff you get sometimes.
What are you going to do differently in half number two?
You know, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing offensively versus the zone. I want to talk a little bit about that pick and roll defense. We're backing away. Can't back away because now you're giving them the one shot you know they can make, which is an open three. And Joe's doing a great job. You know he can coach. I mean, he's not afraid of me, and he's not afraid of Kentucky.
Back to you guys.
All right, Joe, thanks. Malik Monk scores the final 7 points for Kentucky. They take a 15-point lead into the locker room here in Brooklyn. Plenty going on today in college basketball. Let's send it to Doug Kazarian and LaFonso Ellis back in the studio. Welcome back to the Brooklyn Hoops Winter Festival from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Jump off the train, come up the stairs, and cross the street, and you're here for a 48-33 Kentucky lead. The 6th-ranked team in the country had their hands full with Hofstra in the first half. Welcome back. Tom Hart alongside Carol Lawson. Hofstra followed your blueprint and their game plan to a T for the first, 17 and a half minutes.
Well, you look at how they attacked the offensive glass. I thought that was really key for their offense there in the first half, to be able to maintain staying close with Kentucky on the offensive end. And you see Sabady there. I thought he was terrific in his energy and his minutes off of the bench. Kentucky's a hard team to find quality looks at in the half court. And so you see the offensive rebound and their ability to score. But then let's focus on Malik Monk, because I thought he had a really good first half. Look at the leadership here. Getting on Wendy Gabriel. He's trying to talk back to John Calipari and say, hey, man, just listen. Listen to coach. Just shut up and listen. And Malik Monk also does his talking on the court as well for this team. Knocking down the three-point shot. He had a tremendous spurt there late. The ultimate closer here to end the first half was a big reason why Kentucky was able to stretch this out at the end of that first half.
Here's a look at your leading scorers. Gusti's had 8 points, but only played 11 minutes in the first half. We'll see him to start the second half. Briscoe and Monk in the backcourt combined for 27. Kentucky closed the first half on a 12-0 run. Malik Monk closed it on a personal 7-0 run. And so the freshman from Northwest Arkansas, averaging 19 points a game, one of the top scorers in the SEC, trying to keep that run going. As Hofstra opens the second half with possession, Gusti's will offer a screen to start play. Here's Powers. Briscoe pinballed off of him, but Powers couldn't knock it in. And Gusti's tracks it down. Nation's leading rebounder goes to the running skyhook. De'Aaron Fox with a finger roll.
We didn't hear a ton from De'Aaron Fox there in the first half. And, you know, this is a young man who I love how complete his game is. A nuisance on the defensive end, can really help change games. And offensively, we see how electric he can be in transition when he kicks it into that extra gear.
Back rim from Bernardi. They're looking for Adebayo. It's a 16-0 Kentucky run. Well, they're battling inside, and Gustis gets whistled for his third personal foul. We got Joe Lenardi with us today. What do you got over there, Joe?
That's a big third foul on Gustis for Hofstra. Pride coach Joe Mihalik going to have to manage his bench again here the second half. Kentucky 16-0 here, straddling the half. Just when we thought it was going to be a wire job.
Kentucky able to finish the first half on a nice run, and now Adebayo muscles his way in. Frustration for Gustis, who's trying to guard one of the most physical players in the SEC with 3 personal fouls.
Well, that becomes a challenge with Kentucky, the wear-down effect, and how much pressure they put on you individually in your one-on-one matchups, as we've seen Adebayo there with Gustis the last couple times down the court. I mean, that is a challenge every single time down when Bam is aggressive.
And a block by Adebayo there. And here's a guy talking to an NBA scout last week, wondering why he didn't have more block shots, and he reaches in for the foul there. And one of the big reasons is Kentucky uses Adebayo to guard on the perimeter. It's not like some of the great shot blockers in the past who would just sit inside the arc and wait for you to come their way. He's guarding guys 17 feet from the hoop.
Yeah, they'll switch screens. I mean, they'll be aggressive. They'll switch ball screens. They'll put a lot of pressure on their guys, whether it's Adebayo or Gabriel or Willis, to guard those perimeter players and not let them get quality looks.
You look at a guy like Bam Adebayo, who does he remind you of? How about that?
Isn't that striking? I mean, how similar those two guys look. Now remember, that's Orlando. That's rookie year for Dwight Howard. So he came straight out of high school to the NBA. And so that's the same age for those two guys. And the build, the set of shoulders there, it's a remarkable resemblance.
Bam Adebayo has a vertical of 39.5 inches and a wingspan of 7'1.5". I think the vertical is something that surprises folks when they see him for the first time, because he can get up and he can get up quick. Willis splashes in a 3. It's a 21-1 run for Kentucky. That free throw for Hofstra last trip down snapped a 6-minute scoring drought. Powers working at Adebayo. Andre Walker's first shot attempt is good. John Calipari taking a moment to teach Derek Willis what he expects out of the offensive set. And a foul on the rebound as Greer goes over the top to commit his second personal foul. We're talking about some Kentucky measurables. Look at this. Sasha Kalia-Jones has a wingspan of 7'2". And the biggest surprise to me was Dominique Hawkins, who stands 6 feet even, has a vertical of 44.5 inches. That's one of the tops in the Kentucky program over recent history with John Calipari. Put in perspective, Michael Jordan has a vertical of 48, or did, as Monk throws in a 3.
Well, if your name's Dominique Hawkins, right? Dominique Wilkins,
yeah.
Connie Hawkins, you better be able to dunk.
It's a good combo. John Wall's the guy can get up, right? His is only 39, only. Adebayo with the jam. Timeout Hofstra. They call him Bam because he once flipped over a coffee table as a toddler. And Kentucky has flipped over this game. It's not a coffee table, it's a rim, but it's still doing damage. Bam and Kentucky off and running. Coming up next, we'll send you to Chapel Hill, Tennessee and North Carolina meet at the Dean Smith Center. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN. Tennessee's won 3 in a row. They had 16 threes against Presbyterian last time out. Meanwhile, Justin Jackson hit 7 threes for the Tar Heels in their win against Davidson. That win was a little bit closer, I think, than some Carolina fans and maybe Roy Williams expected.
It was. Jack Gibbs, though, is a tremendous guard. And you mentioned Davidson and Hofstra alum, Bob McKillop.
Yes.
Coach of Davidson.
He always seems to have a score, doesn't he? Nice feed. Gustis with the body control to go around Briscoe. Double figures now for Rokas Gustis. Kentucky hasn't missed in the second half. Briscoe drives and hits. And he'll go to the free throw line. Isaiah Briscoe with 17 in this game. He'll have a chance to add to his total when we return. Number 6, Kentucky pulling away from Hofstra.
Hofstra coach Joe Mihalich had a terrific mentor early in his coaching career that he says he takes him and he thinks about him every day. He takes him to practice with him every day, and that's the famed coach Morgan Wooten, high school coach at DeMatha Catholic High School. And look at some of these numbers, Tom. I mean, it's terrific. I mean, over 1,200 wins, 5-time high school national champion. Of course, defeated Power Memorial Academy with Lou Alcindor. And John Wooden once, and asked to describe Morgan Wooten, said, "I stand in awe of him." And to be able to, when he graduated, be able to be his assistant varsity coach, be the JV coach at DeMatha High School. He said he learned so much about teaching, being a great communicator. Morgan Wooten also taught history at DeMatha. And Coach Mihalich said sometimes he would go walk up there and just stand outside his classroom to listen to him teach history. That's how good of a teacher he was. And as a kid that grew up in the D.C. area, I mean, you grew up in that area and you played basketball. You hoped you would be good enough to play for Morgan Wooten at DeMatha. That's how well respected and how well regarded his program was there.
You mentioned the win against Lou Alcindor and Powell Memorial in 1965. That was the first ever sellout at Cole Fieldhouse. They got ready for Lou Alcindor by having one of their guys hold a tennis racket over his head to disrupt the offensive players for DeMatha. 85-year-old Morgan Wooten. He's on Twitter, by the way.
So, I hope he's watching. That would make my day if I got a tweet from Morgan Wooten.
Wouldn't it?
I'll tell you. Because I'm telling you, I grew up in there. I wanted to go to DeMatha. It's an all-boys Catholic high school. But you couldn't tell me at 7 or 8 that I wasn't going to be. I was like, be good enough. Morgan Wooten will want me. You can't tell me anything. Everybody wanted to go to DeMatha.
His impact still felt throughout the game of college basketball at so many different levels, including Mike Bray, the head coach at Notre Dame.
Well, of course, Kentucky fans, Keith Bogans, who played in the early 2000s for Kentucky, was a very good player and had a nice career in the NBA. He was a graduate of DeMatha and played for Morgan Wooten there.
Malik Monk throws in a 3. He's got 17. I know my buddy Adrian Branch is watching today. He'd be upset if we didn't mention his name as well. 18 points for Monk. He's hit 4 of 9 from 3. We could go all the way down a long roster of players who made their name at DeMatha before having success elsewhere. And a reach in on Monk, and it'll be his second personal.
Those were the games to go to. Those Washington Catholic League games. DeMatha, Gonzaga, O'Connell, Good Counsel. That's a ton of players.
It'll stay with Hofstra here, down 67-39. Kentucky hasn't missed since coming out of the locker room. And wasn't it funny? John Calipari told Joe Lunardi that he was going to talk specifically about defense and how they're guarding the pick and roll at the half. Lo and behold, they come out and they don't misfire on offense. Wanted to make sure his guys would communicate. You know, I think communication is such a key in basketball, Karen. It's something that we witnessed the first game today with St. John's and LIU Brooklyn, it was evident late in that game how much communication there wasn't. And you could see the team that was trailing, that ended up losing the game, St. John's, wasn't talking.
It is very important. And the key piece about communication is defensively, it's on your bigs. And that's an area for growth that I see for this Kentucky team is defensively, their frontline guys continuing to improve and continuing to improve their communication. And you're right, that goes a long way to being a successful team and a team that can execute.
Isaiah Briscoe tries to penetrate. He finds Monk, and the three for Monk's off the rim. Rebounded by Jamal Robinson. Bernardi picks up the loose ball and fires. That's a shooter. First three of the game for Bernardi, the graduate from Staten Island. And now Powers pushing on Monk. And he'll get a trip to the free throw line. Jerome Powers back to the stripe after the foul. Well, Joe Lenardi, we talked a lot about your bracketology already. In the SEC, your latest bracketology has 4 teams in, with one just outside, just missing out. So you got 4 from the SEC. How could that affect Kentucky's efforts to find a 1 seed? We talk about overall strength of the league.
It's a great question, because when you talk about Kentucky, you're obviously talking about the dominant program in the SEC, but the coattails of the Wildcats haven't helped the league as much as you might have thought during the John Calipari era, which is more a comment on how the rest of the league has scheduled, as opposed to these Wildcats who will play anyone, anywhere. You know, dominance is a good thing for national attention at the very top, but what the SEC needs is to win more non-league games against NCAA level competition. And right now, this looks like another year in comparison to the power conferences in which the SEC is going to be near the bottom of that group.
Yeah, this is a big Sunday for the SEC, Joe. When you look at the fact that Ole Miss, they already lost to Virginia Tech, but Florida's playing Florida State today. Tennessee at North Carolina follows us. Alabama's at Oregon. So there are still some pivotal games out there for the league. Wouldn't you say that they could get some of these wins and could help that reputation?
And that's really when it happens, Karen. I mean, we're getting near the end of the non-conference portion of the season. So, you know, there are not many resume building opportunities outside the league and outside Kentucky, Florida, Texas A&M. You know, there's just a lot of okay in the SEC, and it looks like it's going to be another year dominated by the likes of the ACC and the Big Ten in terms of quantity of bids. Obviously, quality at the top. Kentucky takes a backseat to nobody.
Florida very nearly knocked off Duke last week. That would have been a huge win for the SEC as a league. And you got Arkansas just on the outside looking in. I think they're second 4 out. Briscoe's able to roll one home with his left hand. He's got 19 now. Carroll brought up the ACC, and it's really interesting because they're sitting, according to you right now, at 10 bids. Can they get 11, and what would it take for that to happen?
The record is 11. It happened in 2011, and it was the old Big East, of course, when they had 16 teams. We're projecting 10 out of 15 for the ACC, but there are more teams still knocking on the door from the ACC. Wake Forest just out. Clemson just out. Obviously, they're going to start playing each other and beating each other up a little bit, but I think double digits for the ACC is at least a 50-50 proposition for 2017.
By the way, that game at Chapel Hill that will follow us today is Rick Barnes takes Tennessee into the Dean Dome. The Tar Heels will be without Joel Berry today, we're told. That game following us, Tennessee on a 3-game win streak. And a 3 goes for Jamal Robinson in his second triple.
Jamal Robinson for the lead.
Fox is able to draw the foul on Justin Wright Foreman, who snuck in underneath him. It's a 72-49 lead. You know this guy, right? Chris Mullen, the former St. John star, the Dream Teamer. We'll talk about the city game, what role he plays in it, and which city are we talking about? It's coming up next from Brooklyn.
Gotta get up, gotta get up, na, 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 na.
Well, when you come to the city for a weekend to call hoops, you got to talk hoops, and that's what we've been doing. How about the greats that have come from Brooklyn, including Chris Mulder, who coached the St. John's team earlier today, Stephon Marbury, Mark Jackson, Bernard King. Wow. Yeah, Carmelo and MJ, both born in Brooklyn. Jordan's family moved to North Carolina before he could walk, and Carmelo shortly thereafter moved to Baltimore once he was a youngster. We've got a great history of basketball, of course, in Brooklyn. And now with the Nets playing here, they got Dr. J hanging above the court. So this is the question. In this day and age, as Fox hits the first, is whatever happened to the great legends of New York basketball? How come the NBA isn't populated with New York greats like it was for so long, especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s? I haven't had an NBA All-Star from New York since 2004. That was Ron Artest. What happened?
Well, I think they haven't had one that graduated from a New York high school. And I think what you see now with the prep schools and with your Oak Hills and with all these different high schools, guys leave the city to go play high school ball elsewhere. And it used to be you play in New York City. If you're one of the best guys, that's where you want to play. Those are some of the best leagues in the country, and that's just not the case anymore. Now you go to prep school. A lot of players do, and that takes them out of New York City.
And certainly the nation's population has migrated south and west. We see that with so many great pros from Florida, Atlanta, LA, Vegas. The other issue in the NBA, of course, is back in the day there weren't international players. So think about the number of slots that are no longer available to American-born scholastic athletes, regardless of what metropolitan area they might be from.
Taken away by Kalia Jones, and here comes Kentucky the other way. You know, you don't have to look far at a couple of New York guys that played in a Kentucky uniform that went the prep school route instead of going to a New York high school. Here's a percentage of NBA players that graduated from a New York City high school. In the mid-70s, it was 1 out of every 16 in the NBA. Now it's 1 out of 90. And back, by the way, when Artest in 04, but right before him, the year before, you had Jamal Mashburn, you had Stephon Marbury, who were right there. So that was the tail end of a good run. Dakari Johnson and Doran Lamb, both guys that were from New York, but then went the prep school route. So maybe we're not applying it properly if you think about New York City guys that leave to go play prep school.
Right, and I mean, Rick Pitino's had great success recruiting guys out of New York. Bob Huggins for years getting guys out of New York City. So it's just a different world now. I mean, you're not growing up and going to your local high school as much anymore if you're a talented player. A lot of players are moving out of state, different part of the country to play their prep school ball. Okay, I'll give you that. But then how can we see so much talent from New Jersey? I mean, just this afternoon at shoot-around, John Calipari looked down his bench and said, oh, we got some guys that will... Oh, wait, Briscoe's the only guy, and he's from Jersey. But Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Randy Foye, all from the Jersey suburbs. How come there's so much talent across the river instead of here?
Well, some of them are Jersey suburban high schools, but they're from the city. They go to private schools, and they can be recruited to those academies and places on the other side of the Hudson.
So it's not that the air is any better over there, Joe? Mulder throws in the bucket. I mean, you're only talking about a few miles, but the history in this city from Lou Alcindor to Bob Cousy, Stephon Marbury, Kenny Anderson. Well, you could put together a dream team just from the boroughs. And Boosties can't finish inside. Gabriel went to the floor with it. You talked about other great Catholic high schools in the Baltimore, D.C. area and those legendary games. That used to be the story in New York City. Some of those have since closed. Power Memorial. You know, Christ the King has long been a fantastic program that's put guys out. Nice cut inside, and the fadeaway goes. But as those Catholic high schools have closed down, you've lost some of those schools, and you've also lost some of the great legendary coaches that people wanted to play for in this area.
I think those schools made a mistake, guys. Obviously, Kara wanted to go to DeMatha.
Yes.
If she'd have gone to one of those New York powers, maybe they'd still be rolling.
Rolling. Maybe, Joe. Maybe they'd still be rolling? Come on.
I'm on the other side of the river over here, behind the other benches.
Talked to Lynn Elmore about it just this afternoon after we left shoot-around. Of course, he's a New York City guy, and he said, listen, there are so many reasons. I don't know if you have enough time within one basketball game to talk about the different tentacles that have either reached out to dismiss some of the great high school basketball players or to continue to, you know, especially from the difference between the public education available in the city to the Catholic schools and their disappearance in many ways. So Beatty will go to the free throw line. Kara, you're welcome at my school anytime.
Thank you, Tom.
We could use somebody like you.
What? What is your school?
You know what? In this day and age, it's not that hard to start one.
That's true.
I'll just get a P.O. box and we'll start one up. Mulder from the baseline. He's earned more playing time lately for John Calipari. Nice drive. And a finish by Powers. Well, he's faring much better this time against Kentucky than he did last time when he was playing at Hampton. He was just 1 for 8 in that game. He's got 18 today. Here's Briscoe penetrating the zone, and he finds Khalil Jones.
So these last 7 minutes, obviously the game is out of hand, and 30-point lead for Kentucky. So I'm watching the bigs, and I'm watching their communication on the defensive end. I'm watching, are they sound on that end of the floor? There's still periods of growth. Even though the game is out of hand in terms of score-wise, there's still a lot of coaching going on by John Calipari on the sideline, trying to prepare his guys for the rest of their non-conference schedule.
Well, here we are in Brooklyn at the corner of Atlantic and Flatbush Avenues. And when in Brooklyn, the borough of homes and churches, the motto here, unity makes strength. This is a place where they invented deep-fried Twinkies. It's my kind of language. Sweet and low Teddy Grahams, a roller coaster, and the population larger than Boston, Atlanta, D.C., and Minneapolis combined.
Also invented D.
I didn't know. I was wondering if you're ever going to open those.
There you go. That's my gift to you.
Going on the plane with me. You don't have to have family down the road to appreciate being in Brooklyn. I know it's one of your favorite spots.
It is one of my favorite spots. I love walking around Brooklyn, experiencing all the different restaurants, the different types of people. It's phenomenal. And you know what's great about here is, you know, the subway comes, as we showed in the first half, it comes right next to the Barclays Center. So you can get from the Barclays Center to pretty much anywhere in New York. And it's easy to get the games here. Of course, the Brooklyn Nets play here. The New York Islanders of the NHL play here as well. So great location here in Barclays Center.
Last night was Saturday Night Fever, right? That's a Brooklyn thing. Bay Ridge.
Last night was SantaCon.
That's over on the other side, yeah. That's a little freaky. There's Santa. He and the elf are tweeting right now. It's a Rex Chapman jersey. You don't often find that on Santa Claus.
Maybe that is Rex.
I saw Santa earlier. He brought the beach with him to the arena, which I thought was kind of cool. Here's Gusti's inside. And he draws a foul on Isaac Humphries. It's a first on Humphries. Saturday on ESPN at noon Eastern. Old Big East rivals square off at the Carrier Dome. It's Georgetown and Syracuse in a Holiday Hoops matchup presented by Zale. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN. Syracuse found some offense last night. It's a team that have been struggling kind of in the mid-50s against power conference foes. And they're also still, with all these young guys, trying to figure out that zone.
I don't know if the rims are... Did they replace the rims at the Garden after that UConn-Syracuse game? Good Lord.
I hope they at least repainted them.
Oh, that was brutal. Brutal offense.
Malik Monk. And here comes Hofstra with it. Justin Wright Foreman to the left hand. And Briscoe interfered with it, so it's counted for Foreman. By the way, you mentioned Syracuse. ACC tournament's going to be in this building this year. I'm not sure how folks are going to travel from Tobacco Road, but they might want to hope that Syracuse is having a great year so they can bring all those Orange fans into this building. Adebayo, not quite, and he hung on the rim, and that'll be a technical foul on Adebayo.
Well, it's not just Syracuse. I'm sure that, you know, a lot of those teams that play in the Big East pit, Notre Dame, when you look at Louisville, having a good presence here in New York.
Duke fans always turn out for the games in New York City. So that's also a personal foul on Adebayo. That's his third, and it'll put Brian Bernardi at the free throw line. We don't see that called a heck of a lot these days because officials obviously will give a break to guys if there's somebody underneath them or if it's a safety issue. You just don't see guys hanging on the rim as much.
I would hang up there all day.
So look, I made it up here. I'm not coming down. Bernardi had one free throw. Jamie Luckey wants to make sure we're doing the right thing here to go back to Kentucky.
Well, Tom, now it's time for Meaningful Returns, brought to you by TD Ameritrade. And we knew coming in that the transition game of Kentucky would be huge for them. And Bam Adebayo getting the finish there. It's a nice return on a brilliant fast break there. 3-on-2 by the Cats.
He's got 12. Gatorade High School Player of the Year in the state of North Carolina. We'll send you to the Tar Heel State next. North Carolina and Tennessee will follow us. Humphreys. And it will stay this way with 7 seconds on the shot clock.
And I think Malik Monk's awareness defensively when he's had the check of Bernardi has been really good, not allowing him to get clean looks. I mean, here's a guy that shoots the ball from beyond the arc really, really well. And Kentucky's been pretty effective in keeping him from getting clean looks.
Rokas Gustis is going to go to the free throw line after the foul on Isaac Humphreys, his second. Yeah, John Calipari really stressed it this week and then again to us today that Malik Monk's a guy that they need to get to the free throw line more often. It's primarily a style of his play when he's driving. He wants him to be more physical.
Be more physical. Embrace the contact. Not shy away from the contact. He's athletic enough that he can avoid contact on the ground and in the air. I mean, he's slippery, he's bouncy, he's got tremendous elevation, and so he has the ability to do that. But you can't avoid contact all the time. Sometimes you got to go in there and embrace it, and that's kind of what John Calipari sees as Malik Monk's next step on the offensive end.
Monk is lying in wait. He wants to pull the trigger here. And he'll drive with a finger roll. Adebayo can't quite finish. John Calipari saying that what Tony Barbee right now. He's like, why would he finger roll? You got to get in there and go to the rim. Wright Foreman with the bucket. That one works out just fine for De'Aaron Fox with a burst to the rim. Gustis turns it over to Willis. Baseball pass to Monk. He's got Adebayo. Oh, my goodness. Monk whistled for his 4th personal foul. Won't it be fun to watch North Carolina and Kentucky run up and down the floor in Vegas?
That's got to be one of the games you're most looking forward to, because both teams love to push tempo. Both teams have terrific guards. And, you talk about youth and experience. In the backcourt and the guard play that North Carolina has with Joel Berry, of course, Nate Britt off the bench, Justin Jackson going against the new guys in De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk. Absolutely, that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. Is anyone more fun to watch than UCLA right now, though?
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, they're so impressive with the way that they play. And, UCLA, to me, they're so good on the offensive end, and all their guys are skilled. 6 players in double figures. They make your defense burst at its seams. I mean, you're in rotation upon rotation upon rotation to try to guard them.
You wonder, Joe, if this is a UCLA team that's a little undervalued right now.
I don't think they're undervalued. They're right on target. They're going to be pushing for a 1 seed if they win the Pac-12.
They got a big one coming up with Oregon in a couple weeks, but here in Brooklyn today, Monk says dunk, and Bam obliges. Under 4 to go. Kentucky having a lot of fun in this city this weekend. Some thanks, some celebrities in the building today. Santa Rex Chapman and Tim Tebow. Timmy's in town for the Heisman presentation last night. Congratulations, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Great season, but Kentucky knocked him off in the finale. Kentucky going back to a bowl for the first time in a while.
Yeah, Mark Stoops has done a terrific job there with the Wildcats on the field.
I've never seen Tim Tebow hang out with a Rex Chapman Santa Claus before.
I don't know that I'd wear a Jets jersey out in public. I don't know about you. Right? I'm not hating Jets fans. I'm just saying.
Humphreys touches it in. Kentucky fans in the building with an ovation moments ago. The player sitting in midcourt waiting to check in is Brad Calipari, the coach's son. Mulder will let it fly. And that skips off the mark. Kalia Jones with a follow.
Sasha Kalia Jones.
Right, Foreman throws it in and gives us a break and gives us a chance to see Brad Calipari checking into the game for Kentucky. Check this out. Man crush every day with his dad's picture on it. Shades of Doris and Drake. Woman crush every day. Everybody wanted to buy that t-shirt right off the bat.
I mean, can you even get it? Are they sold out?
I don't know if they even exist. I mean, I understand. I understand you can find them on Amazon.
Really?
I just bought about 10 Christmas gifts just now.
Nice.
Those would be the knockoffs. I don't know. You know what Drake should do? Put his up for sale for charity auction.
Oh, man.
Isaac Humphries gets tied up.
That was fantastic, wasn't it?
That was maybe the coolest thing I've seen all season.
Yeah.
You think she's had dinner yet? That was the Twitter invite.
That was the Twitter invite.
Doris Burke replied via Twitter, said anytime, Drake, with a heart emoji.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think it's how. I do follow Drake on Instagram.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and he was recently in Dubai, so I don't know if that was. I don't know if that was.
I thought you were more of a Kenny Chesney fan.
I am more of a Kenny Chesney fan, but after he professed his love for Doris Burke, I gave him a follow on the ground.
Hawkins gets hip checked by Eli Pemberton.
Is that okay?
That's fine. I mean, with his money, he could have flown Doris to Dubai for dinner and then flown her right back to get back on her schedule.
This is true. Is their relationship on that level yet, though?
The adulation is there. And what Drake is saying, by the way, is just everything that anyone who knows Doris Burke feels as well.
Absolutely.
If we all had access to that shirt, we would all wear that T-shirt.
Yep.
So here's Dominic Hawkins. The senior has another free throw coming his way. And frustration for Pemberton, who's done. Fouls out with under 2 minutes to go. So if Drake was playing one side of Nashville next week and Kenny Chesney was playing the other, you're going to Chesney's show.
Chesney, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Chesney. That's what friends call each other.
Well, Tom, as the only person at the network who's done a game this week with both Kara and Doris, I'd like you to know that you're both #1 seeds in my book.
You know, Joe has like 16 Valentine's cards that say exactly that.
His broadcaster tournament has what, 16 #1 seeds?
Yes.
In it?
I wouldn't go that far.
No, not that far. All right, I'll take it then. I'll take one of the 4.
Justin Wright Foreman now
it.
has double figures. 30-point lead for Kentucky.
That means I'm playing a 16 in the first game.
You want to name that 16?
No, not going there.
Blocked by Kalia Jones.
Tom Hart.
I'm just happy to make it to the postseason, Kara. Kalia Jones will pick up his second personal foul, the Chapel Hill native.
Second foul is number 1, Sasha Kalia Jones.
And it puts Greer to the free throw line. Told Ty Greer's story at the beginning of the game. He was highly recruited as a high schooler in the Chicago area, but then during his senior year, he was shot through the calf at a house party. And Kara, what he had to do when he went the junior college route was basically reinvent his game. He had lost a lot of that athleticism that allowed him to be so successful as a high schooler. 2 years at junior college at Daytona State in Florida, and on his first season at Hofstra. Humphreys left it short.
Well, Hofstra's a team that's going to have a solid season, I believe, in the Colonial. And you see UNC Wilmington, the heavy favorite in that league. But remember, in the Colonial, you've got to be good for 3 days. You're good for 3 days in March, and you have that opportunity to win the conference tournament championship, and you can go to the big dance. And Hofstra certainly, I think, has enough firepower to be able to do that.
They were right there last year. They lost the title game to UNCW in overtime. The tournament going to North Charleston, South Carolina. This year, the first of a 3-year run there in Chucktown. And as blocked, it'll stay with Hofstra. Meanwhile, for Kentucky, they get home for finals and then Camp Cow. We talk about how they're able to develop talent. Nice 3 and a chance for a 4-point play for Justin Wright Foreman. We talked to John Calipari today. What makes Kentucky so good at developing that elite talent? Yeah, you get them and recruit them, but then you turn them into pros. And I think Camp Cow goes a long way to doing that. They hold everybody accountable. They're honest. He's honest with his guys, and there'll be a lot of improvement made over the next week by this Kentucky team, even without playing a game. There's
so much thought put into the program by John Calipari and his staff in terms of the development that you talk about. What are the best times to be able to do it?
Brad Calipari will get another chance. Couldn't knock down his first 3. Long run of coaches' sons who have played at Kentucky, going back to Herky Rupp, Sean Sutton, Saul Smith. See if Little Cal gets another chance. They won't. Hawkins will hold it, and that will close out this one. Kentucky moves to 9-1 in this season. They've got Carolina next. That'll be a fun one from Vegas. Hofstra falls to 6-5. John Calipari and Joe Mihalik meet midcourt here in Brooklyn. 96-73 our final. Getting you ready for North Carolina and Tennessee coming up next. But first, we'll take you back to the studio. Our final score here, number 6 Kentucky knocks off Hofstra 96-73. Time to get you to Doug Kazarian and LaFonso Ellis back in the studio to get you prepped for Tennessee and North Carolina from Chapel Hill. So long from Brooklyn.